open up PowerShell and change into the directory where you've got the files installed. If you've got them, just use the cd command to change wherever you are. I happen to have them in here. And then once you're in the directory where the driver files are, just type in star.exe and press tab, and that should find the driver file. Sometimes it takes a little while, but it does do it. And then just hit space and put the command line parameter unregister, just like that. And you hit enter and you'll get a command, a prompt to elevate to administrator rights so it can take stuff out of the registry, and you need to say yes to that. I'm not actually going to let it do it because it will mess up my test install, so I'm just going to say no. And then because I refuse that, I'll get a dialog box that says it didn't do it. Okay, but you will accept it, and on yours it will succeed. And then once you've done that, just delete the whole directory where the files are and make sure it's gone. Okay, and then once you've done that, you can download the new version from Bitbucket. And here is the downloads page on Bitbucket. And this is the file you want here, ta.nexdome.setup-3.0.0-beta.1.msi. Okay, and I've just uploaded that 12 minutes ago, as you can see. And there is no x86 build at the moment. This is only for 64-bit computers. If you don't have a 64-bit computer, then I'm afraid for the time being you're out of luck, but there will be eventually, for the final release, an x86 build as well. Okay, so all you need to do is download that file, save it anywhere convenient. In your downloads folder is great, and double click it, accept the admin prompt, and away you go. Now when that install has finished, let's just open up a Windows Explorer. When that install has finished, it will have installed the ASCOM driver, and it will also have installed the firmware files for you to update your firmware. Now, the firmware files are going to be on your C drive, or whatever your system drive happens to be, in a folder called NexDome Firmware. Okay, and in there, it's a little bit small. Let's just see if I can. I'm on the wrong screen. Take two. Okay, and when that install finishes, it will have installed the ASCOM driver, which will be ready to go, and it will also have installed the firmware, the latest firmware files, which have changed quite a bit since the alpha, and they will be in your C drive, not there, in your C drive in a folder called NexDome-firmware. And let's just zoom in on that a bit. There we go. And in here you get these are pre-compiled. You don't need Arduino IDE or anything like that. These are ready to go. So you need to update your rotator with the rotator firmware, your shutter with the shutter firmware. This is in. If you want to know what this third one is, you have to read the README file. It's for if you need to go back to your old firmware. In this folder here is an uploader utility that will upload these hex files to your Arduinos. Okay, so in order to flash your firmware, take a copy of that directory and then go into PowerShell, and let me turn the magnifier off. Okay, go into PowerShell and cd to the directory where the firmware is, like this. Okay, and then in order to upload it, we're going to use uploader, and I type tab then to complete that. And then again, I'm going to use star.exe and press tab. Okay, so ta nexdome firmware updater.exe is the file you need to run. And then you need to give it you need to specify the hex file that you want to upload and the COM port that you want to send it to. So it's // hex file, like that. and then you can go star.hex, press tab. Okay, so we're going to my rotator, and it's port name, and my rotator is on COM12, I think. There's one way to find out. Okay, and press enter, and that will upload the firmware. Now, the Arduino's a little bit funny. They vanish and then reappear on a different serial port, and that's the bootloader. And then the programmer can talk to the bootloader, and then you will see this firmware update successful message. You must see the word successful there, otherwise it hasn't worked. Okay, and then we can do the same thing again with the shutter hex file, and this time port name is on my system COM3. It will obviously be probably different for your system. So there goes my shutter firmware. Oh look, firmware update failed. Now if that happens, you may need to reboot your Arduino or hold down the reset button. I've just pressed the reset button on mine. Wait for the little USB sound to trigger off again. There it goes. And there we go, it was successful that time. Cool. Now, if I open a terminal emulator now, this is an optional step, you don't have to do this, but I find it useful to confirm that everything's worked, and connect up to your rotator. You'll see messages coming out, and this is the XB wireless link trying to set itself up, and there it is, it's gone online, so that's working. So you can type the command at firmware read rotator. Oh, okay. That's interesting. Okay, so the shutter's working. FRS. FRR doesn't want to work for some reason. I wonder if that's a bug. Let's reboot it. That's interesting. I think maybe I've programmed them backwards, and I've put my rotator firmware in my shutter and my shutter firmware in my rotator. So let's yeah, because look, COM3 is my rotator, and I've just put shutter firmware in that, so I'm a dummy, but no worries. If that happens, you can just redo it. So my shutter firmware needs to go in COM12. And my rotator firmware needs to go in COM3. Rotator.hex -- port name COM3. It's easy to get wrong, which is why it's simple to reverse when you do. Okay, so that said, let's go ahead now and connect up to my rotator. See, it was worth just doing that check with the terminal emulator, because I could have been scratching my head for ages if I hadn't noticed that. So firmware read rotator. Okay, and there we are, 3.0.0-beta.3. If the ASCOM driver detects a lower version, it will not let you run the driver. Okay, so you do have to upgrade your firmware to use the new beta driver. Also, because it's a major version change, I've versioned it as 3.0 because the old firmware was on version 2 point something, 2.11 I think. Then this makes it clear that this is a next version, if you like. So major version change in the firmware triggers it to erase the stored settings back to factory defaults. Okay, so you will have to reconfigure those. But there's good news on that front. Okay, closing that. And then I'm going to just open this up in NexDome because it's what I happen to have handy. Or yeah, NexDome is what I have handy. That's an awesome picture, isn't it? That's APOD. Okay, NexDome, go into the observatory window, and that's of course come up on my other screen, so let's change the input feed. Okay, now I've already got NexDome set up here, so I'm just going to go ahead and click the setup dialog, and where's that gone? Now sometimes the setup dialog opens behind other windows. Now there is quite a lot more in here than there was before. So obviously your COM port here is the port to connect to your rotator. These are just some safety timeouts that affect what happens if the dome gets stuck, how long before it turns the motor off, that kind of thing. Now your home azimuth relates to what angle your dome is installed with respect to true north. So basically, if you put your shutter so it's looking at true north, then how far in degrees would you have to rotate your dome clockwise before it triggered the home sensor? And that's the value you need to enter into here. And if you hover over these things, they've all got tooltips that tell you exactly what they mean. Okay, so we've got a park azimuth now, which is a new feature since the alpha, which this can be used for setting the position of your charging contacts, so that then when you park the dome, it will go to the charging contacts and close the shutter. And that's fairly self-explanatory, I hope. And then here you can control the motor speeds, the maximum speed and the amount of time it takes to accelerate and decelerate up to that speed for both the rotator and the shutter. And take note of the comment at the bottom. These settings are saved straight away when you click OK, but because of the way the driver works internally, they only get fed to the actual lower layers of the driver when it first connects. So basically, if there's any clients connected, the settings won't take effect until all those clients are disconnected, and then the next client that connects will trigger the new settings. Okay, so we can go ahead and connect to that. Dome connect, and sometimes it does just take a few seconds to appear. We have got, dome idle. It is connected, but just the UI hasn't appeared. So I'm just going to switch to it. Oh, it's up on my third monitor. That's why we can't see it. There we go. So there's the UI, and that's as it was before, more or less. There's been some improvements made to how things work. So you could go ahead and open the dome at that point, and or close it. Indeed, it's interesting that my hardware isn't doing anything. Huh. Okay. Oh yeah, there it goes. Okay. Yeah, that's the shutter moving. So if we get that window back up, yeah, we can see the shutter closing. Okay. Now, there is one fairly bad known issue with this driver at the moment, and that is when all the clients have disconnected, the whole server process should shut down and quit. But it's not doing that at the moment. It will linger, and you might have to go into Task Manager and kill it. And I think I know why it's doing that, but I just haven't had time to fix it in time for the beta. So either just leave something connected to it all the time, or kill it in Task Manager when you need to. And I know it's going to be a bit of a pain, but there is an issue outstanding for it, and it will be fixed by the final release. So just be aware that that is a known issue in the beta. Okay, and so that's that. Give it hell, and if you can, if you find any problems, come into Bitbucket. You will need to create a login for yourself because we can't accept anonymous issues. So, but if you go into the Issues tab here, then when you log in, there'll be a Create button up here in this top right corner, and you can create an issue. And I would really value you doing that for me, because it really helps me to keep track of things and where I am. And if you do report an issue, please be sure to attach a log file for the time appropriate to whatever you're reporting, and try to state the time the problem happened as accurately as possible so I can correlate it with the log file. Okay, now you find your logs in your user home directory, and then there'll be a file called logs down here somewhere. Logs, where are you, logs? There it is. And you can see there's loads of log files in here, and there should be some from today. There you go, 0703, and there'll be loads of information in that log file that will be really useful to me, and you can attach that when you create an issue. Let me just log in. Come on, Bitbucket. Okay, I'm going to log in. Okay. Okay. And okay, now we can go to Issues, and what I needed to do was go into the repository first, which is NexDome ASCOM driver, and then we can go into the Issues tab again, and now I've got the Create button up in the top right hand corner, and you should be able to attach a file in here by, there's an image mentioned. Okay, there should be a way to attach a file. There it is at the bottom. Okay, select files, and you can just select a file that you wanted to attach. This is a bit of a silly example. I'm attaching the installer, but it will upload that file and attach it to the issue. Okay, and you do that with the relevant log file, and that will be really a big help to me in finding the problems. All right. I've been Tim from Tiger Astronomy. Thanks for watching. Good luck with your beta testing, and goodbye.